Hi, NAFA California. It's Diane Boyle, NAFA's Senior Vice President of Government Relations. I've been asked to give you an advocacy update, tell you a little bit about what's going on in DC. It's very much like the circus that won't leave town, and we're responsible for setting up the Olympics in the same site. So it's difficult to get going until we get through some of the more difficult parts of the session. But we do have legislative activity in the queue. We're looking at the reconciliation process as sort of the first up. And what that is, you'll remember from years past or Congress's past, when one party holds both the presidency, the House, and the Senate, then they can get through using the reconciliation process legislation with just a simple majority in the Senate. And so reconciliation is used for big priorities. The challenge is that both the House and the Senate have to pass a matching budget that then directs how reconciliation can be used. I won't go into too much detail. Just know it's a complicated process. There are certain things that can be used. And what we want to look for and what we're watching for is that some of the elements that could be included in reconciliation that would be in our industry, corporate tax hike, elimination of Section 190A, the non-corporate business income deduction, perhaps creation of a public option within ACA. And all of that would have to go through, again, first those matching budgets, then you go through the reconciliation process. And we're really talking time frame, not until the summer, until you would really start seeing reconciliation going through. But setting that stage begins now. And then for a look at some of the other legislative activity that we expect, if you look at the financial sector, again, we have that trifecta with the Democrats and the presidency, the House, and the Senate. And so we're going to see a return to, pre-Trump era reforms. And for us, it means potential for major reform in the financial services industry. Let's talk about what that sort of means specifically. If you look at tax reform, some of the likely and very likely action, increase in that corporate tax rate, whether it's included in reconciliation or not, it's going to be a priority. The institution of a wealth tax of some sort is definitely something that's going to see some type of activity. Inclusion of a financial services transaction tax is something that's very likely going to be looked at as part of the legislative agenda in the 117th Congress. If we look at sort of the healthcare sector, again, the look is very much away from what Trump put in place. And for us, probably in the healthcare, you're looking at that public option that would pull people away from the private market is something that I think we're going to watch really closely. I think it's a priority that President-elect Biden had mentioned in his campaign speech, and it certainly is something that he has support from his members in the House and the Senate. And if you look at what some of the likely actions are in that area, expanded enrollment, expanded outreach programs, some of the cost sharing reduction payments are likely, expanding the subsidies are there. Might see a revisit of the Cadillac tax, perhaps even a reinstatement of the individual mandate penalty. And if you look more on the regulatory side, you're looking at some type of elimination from the short-term health plans, perhaps a creation of a federal public option, expanding the list of benefits, and again, to maintain those cost protections for the pre-existing condition requirements. I think that's going to stay. So what are we doing now in order to advocate for our members on this? We're looking at industry connections. It's something that we always do. What is this new Congress? What is their understanding? What is their baseline of our industry? Then we're having meet and greets. We need to know who these people are. Who's the new leadership? Who are the new members of Congress? What are their new committee assignments? What are their new roles? Who are the new cabinet members? What are the new regulators? We're participating in industry events so that we have the industry perspective when we meet people. We're doing staff briefings, we have coalition meetings, and then of course we do direct lobbying. And then what that sort of means for you, it's always been there. We use the three-legged stool. We have the professional lobbying, our grassroots lobbying, and then of course our PAC. And where we could really use your help now, what you should be looking at is, where do we have gaps? Where do we not have relationships between our members and members of Congress? Now, we do have a member who has a relationship with Speaker Pelosi, but it's an older member. So if someone else has a relationship or is willing to develop a relationship with the speaker, let us know. We want to make sure that we're tracking that information and we can help facilitate introductions and get those relationships started. Here are some of the others. The green member simply means that they're new to Congress, they're a freshman. Those that are in black have been in Congress before, but we don't have somebody who has stepped up and said, you know what, I know this individual, or I want to develop a relationship. So if you have it, we want to hear from you. And then my final ask would be, go ahead and get social, California. And what I mean by that is start tweeting your members of Congress. They follow that. They want to hear from you. It's a good way to welcome them to the 117th Congress. And you'll see a document that's clipped there, Uncovering Needs and Solving Problems. And it's something that we will send out as soon as we have the staff identified and the switch has moved to the 117th Congress. We're sending out information from NAFA to all of the members, talking about what our members do. And that's what this document does. And it's a really good piece, especially if you're going to join us in that effort. We'll send and notify our members when that letter goes out. It will include this document that explains how NAFA members work with lawmakers and what some of our policy requirements or suggestions are. And it's a good way to really kick off that new Congress. So with that said, I know we're on a tight time frame. Thank you so much for all that you do. We're going to have a really busy session ahead of us, and we look forward to working with our California members to develop those relationships and help educate policymakers on the important role that you play in working with consumers in all communities to make sure that they have that financial security set up and are ready to go. Thanks so much. Have a great day.